Hi, I'm Beth, creator of dryitcanit.com. I like to share with you tips and recipes for dehydrating food and canning food. And today I'm going to talk about dehydrating noodles. Why would you want to do that? The question really is, why wouldn't you if you're into dehydrated foods? Because you can create near instant meals or instant soups. So I'm going to talk today about making dehydrated noodles. Now, if you don't have one of these and you cook pasta or spaghetti or dehydrating or not, you're going to want one of these when I get done showing you how this works. This is a really neat little gadget that has different levels for water, different levels for pasta. Comes with a cheat sheet that'll tell you how much to put in, how much water, etc. And what I like about it is that I can cook my pasta in the microwave, I can drain it with this, and I'm done, so I don't have to watch it, and it's less dishes. But all that said, here's what I do when I'm dehydrating noodles. There are a couple things that I do and a couple things that I won't do when I'm dehydrating noodles. So today I'm going to use some medium egg noodles. Now you can use just about any noodle you want to use. Another one that I really like is the little bow ties that work. But the noodles that I don't use are the macaroni noodles or the shell noodles, because they have all those little crevices or the holes inside of the tubes that hold water, and I think it's really hard to tell that you've got all the water out. So I tend to stay away from those. You can dehydrate spaghetti or angel hair pasta, break it into pieces depending upon how you want to use it, is another great example. So this is medium-sized egg noodles. And they just look like so. They're basically little spirals. They work out really well and they dehydrate really well. Usually when I cook these and dehydrate them, they dehydrate in about 3 to 4 hours. And I'm going to do the rest of this package at this point in time. Actually, it's going to be not quite the package because I can see that that's a little bit too much for the container here. So I've done this enough that I know what my time is. Now when I dehydrate noodles, it's one of the few things that I actually will add salt to. Generally, I won't add salt to things that I'm dehydrating because the salt tends to make the food too salty. With noodles, it works fine. Because my noodles are fairly full, I know that I want to add enough water to get to the top of this. And I'm going to grab some more real quickly here, so bear with me a second. So there's a level here on the top that I'm going to. And I'm going to put that all the way up there. And then basically I'm going to put this in the microwave. Now a lot of the pastas like spaghetti you're going to put in for, you know, the 13.5 minutes or the 12.5 minutes, whatever the density or the al dente that you like. And then you put it in microwave, always uncovered though. So I'm going to put this in the microwave for 10 minutes. I'm going to take it out and stir it, and I'm going to put it in for another 4 minutes because I know that's how long it takes to do these noodles. So stay with me and I'll be back when these are cooked. All right, just took my noodles out of the microwave. Cook your noodles to the doneness that you like them, whether it's soft, whether it's al dente, whatever it is. So I just put the cover on after it's in the microwave, and then I drain it. It's really a strainer and a cooker all in one. And what I'm going to do afterwards, after I get this drained, is I'm going to use these holes. These holes actually measure serving size for spaghetti. I don't know if you can see those. I'm going to put cold water in here and I'm going to fill this up and I'm going to shake it and I'm going to drain it, and I'm going to do that twice. That'll stop the cooking temperature on here, and it will also get rid of the extra starches. So I will be right back after I do that step. I've rinsed and drained these in cold water twice, and of course the other advantage is it cools the noodles down enough so that I can handle them. So a couple more drops of water there. I'm gonna set this to the side. And then I simply take my dehydrator trays. Now obviously you don't want to use the bigger trays. You need something that's going to have the smaller screen. So I just put that on there. And then you basically are just going to spread your noodles out. So I usually just take a couple handfuls and spread them out. And you really want to get them about so that they're not stacked basically, so kind of a single layer, if you will. And I just spread them out. They're going to be wet, and that's okay. The dehydrator is going to handle that just fine. Now with this particular kind of noodle, 3.5 to 4 hours is pretty consistent for me in terms of how long it takes to dehydrate. I'm going to go ahead and stick this tray in my dehydrator. Now I dehydrate my noodles at 135 degrees if they're going in by themselves, and that seems to work really well. If my dehydrator is not quite full and I have some fruit, maybe to finish it. Then I'll do these at 125 degrees. If I have some vegetables, I should say the vegetables at 125 degrees. If I have some fruits, then I'll go ahead and put my noodles in at 135 degrees, and that's fine. I wouldn't go higher than 135 degrees. I've done them at 140 degrees, and I think that they maybe get casing on them or they don't dry as well. So basically just sort of spread them out so they're pretty much single layer and put them into your dehydrator. Again, I use 130 degrees, but anything 125 to 135 is just fine. It really depends what you're working with. So again, I just take the rest of my noodles, spread them out. Now, about 2 hours from now, I'll probably just take these and I'll kind of scoop them up like so and spread them around again. You know, if you leave noodles out on a plate and they've been drained, how they get dry kind of fast, that's really what happens here too. And when you're looking at them to see if they're done, you're looking for little white spots because the noodles are going to dry pretty much looking like they're raw. They're not really going to shrink at all like other food does. But you'll see little white spots if they're still wet, and you'll just kind of want to turn them over. And again, these particular kind of noodles really don't hold the water at all, so that helps. And that's again why I don't use the macaroni or the shells. Again, spaghetti, angel hair pasta, break it up, you can use that. The spiral noodles, the bow ties, the little rings, they all work great. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in the dehydrator. I'm going to go ahead and dehydrate them, and when I get it all done, I will show you kind of a before and after, showing you some that haven't been dehydrated and some that have. And I'm also going to show you a couple ways on how I use these on the back end and why having dehydrated noodles is such a great pantry item. So be sure to watch the rest of this, and I'll be back when these are dehydrated. First recipe I'm going to make is a macaroni and cheese. So I'm taking some of my cooked and dehydrated noodles that have conditioned, and I'm going to put those in a jar for purposes of demonstration. Now, you definitely can store these in a vacuum seal bag. That's generally what I will do if I'm going to do it by portions, but because I want to show you, I'm doing it in a jar here. So, and I'm going to make a really small volume here. Obviously, if you're going to do this for a family, you're going to increase the recipe accordingly. And I'm making a mess here. So I'm just going to use a half a cup of the dehydrated noodles and put those in a jar here for you. And then I really like this cheddar cheese powder. When I started dehydrating, I swore I was not going to buy any products like this, but there's so much more you can do when you actually have some of these products. So I really like this cheese powder. I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of the cheese powder, and I'm going to put that in here. And that is going to make it very cheesy and delicious. Whoops, wrong cover here. And then you like creaminess with your macaroni and cheese, so I always keep some powdered milk on hand. That's sort of a staple, and I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of that, like so. And then you can add your flavorings, or you can leave your flavorings out. Now I like a little bit of garlic powder in mine, not too much. So I'm going to use not quite a 1/4 teaspoon of that. I'm going to put that in there like so. And then I am going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder. Now if you want to use some herbs or some chives or something else like that, you can do that. That's not a problem. You want black pepper in there, you want some vegetables in there that are dehydrated, that's fine too. It's really a flexible ingredient, or a flexible way to make this. You're just basically using dry ingredients. And then I'm going to use a pinch of salt. So I just use sort of a 3-finger pinch there and put that in. Now, at this point in time, you can store this in a jar. I prefer to put it in a vacuum seal bag, and I put my powdered items down on the bottom and then my noodles on top and then vacuum seal, but be careful so that your powders don't go up. You can hear my water boiling, so hang with me for now. There's 2 ways to go with this when you're ready to cook it. One is to add water, and you would add about the same amount of water as you do noodles. So basically just up to the top. And then I don't have any butter out right now, but put a little bit of butter in there for the creaminess. You can go ahead and shake that up and let that sit. It's going to take quite a while to do it that way, but if you're getting it ready to take to lunch and you're going to work, it'll do its thing. Just put it in the refrigerator when you get to work, and then heat it up in the microwave afterwards. You can also set this up overnight and put it in your refrigerator. It's what's called a cold soak, and then those noodles will soak that up. What I'm actually going to do with these today is I'm going to add about the same amount of water. I'm going to put this in a saucepan and I'm going to cook it simply because I want that sauce to thicken up a little bit. So let me show you what that looks like. All right, so I put all my mac and cheese ingredients into a saucepan, added enough water just to cover it, and then I'm going to let that simmer basically because I want this cheese sauce to thicken up a little bit. And if I just did a cold soak, it's going to be really just as tasty, but it's going to be a little bit more runny. So I'm just going to let this cook. The noodles will take maybe 3 to 5 minutes to completely be done, and then that cheese sauce should thicken up. It's been about 3 or 4 minutes. You can see my noodles have pretty much soaked up the liquid, and the cheese sauce is starting to thicken up a little bit. I'm going to give this just another minute or so, and then I'm going to be ready to eat. All right, so from the time I took and poured my dried ingredients into my pan, added some hot tap water, it took less than 6 minutes, and I have macaroni and cheese ready to go. And it is delicious. It's done. This little bit, a half cup of dried, definitely makes a generous serving. You can see that the cheese sauce and the moisture were absorbed by the noodles, and I have great flavoring in here, and I want a fork to try this. So let me show you how good that looks. You can see that that is perfectly done, nice size serving, probably yields about a cup total. Let's see how it tastes. That is so good. It's so flavorful. It's nice and cheesy. Because I added garlic and onion, I can taste the garlic, I can taste the onion. But again, you add whatever spices or herbs or even vegetables that you want to add. If you're going to add dehydrated vegetables, you might want to soak those for a while to soften, or cook those ahead of time because they might take 10 to 20 minutes to do. But this is a really quick, easy way to get a meal on the table using dehydrated noodles. It is quicker than starting from scratch and putting all of your ingredients together, and you're good to go. Great side dish, great main dish. Certainly will make your kids happy because who doesn't like mac and cheese, right? So if you like this video, sure would appreciate a thumbs up. I have the recipe below on the video. I also have a printable link to the recipe below. Be sure to hit subscribe in the lower, let's see here. If you're looking at the TV, as you're looking in the lower right channel, hit subscribe to subscribe for more recipes. So thanks for watching. Happy dehydrating. I'm going to show you how to make some near instant soup or some soup mixes using some cooked and dehydrated noodles. So the thinner the noodle is, the better on making this particular recipe. So I'm starting with about 1/3 cup of noodles that I put in a pint-sized jar. Now if you like more noodles, add more noodles. If you want less, use less. It'll expand a little bit. Then because I'm using a chicken flavored soup, I'm going to use some chicken flavored powder. You can use beef powder if you want. You can use vegetable if you want. You can use the granules. I don't advise using the bouillon cubes simply because I think they have a moisture content in them, and I think that moisture content could spoil your dry ingredients. So to that, because I'm making about 2 cups of soup, I'm going to use about 1.5 teaspoons of this chicken powder. Now, again, you're going to have to adjust this to what you like. You might want to start with a little bit less and then add more if you need to do that. Then I look in my pantry and see what else I have. I like something green in my soup. So I had some chives and I had some parsley, and I decided to go with some parsley today. So I'm just going to add a little bit of that. I'm basically going to add a pinch of that once I get that open there. I'm just going to go in and I'm going to add a nice pinch of that. I like something green. I think parsley adds a nice flavor component also. Then I have some carrots. When I dehydrate my carrots, I have them diced, I have them shredded, and I have them sliced. And I do different things depending upon what I want to do with it. So I'm going to use, I think 1 teaspoon probably of the diced carrots. Carrots add a little bit of texture, and they add a little bit of vitamins, but there's not a lot. And actually, I think I'm going to use 2 teaspoons of carrots today for this. Now, I'm not adding meat to mine today. but you certainly can. If you have some canned chicken, you can do that. If you have fresh chicken, you can do that. If you have some dehydrated chicken, you can do that. But don't do it at this step. Do it when you cook it. So I have some dehydrated celery, and I will open that. Now, dehydrated celery, a little bit goes a long way, so I'm going to use not quite a teaspoon on that. Put that in there. Try not to waste all of your components by spilling them like I just did. But I love having dehydrated celery because it seems like if I buy a stalk of celery to make something, I never use the whole thing. Dehydrating it works really, really well. And then I have some onions, some dehydrated onions. I like onions with my soup, obviously. So, and who doesn't, right? That's sort of a basic. So I'm going to add a teaspoon of that also. And I just have the chopped onions, and I go ahead and put those in. Again, nothing magic about the amounts that you put in. It's what you want. I'm going to use just a pinch of black pepper. I'm not adding salt because there's a pretty good salt component in the bouillon or in the chicken powder already. You can obviously add that when you are cooking it. Now, this is good to go. I can go ahead and put a lid on this and I can store it, and I'm absolutely good to go. The other thing I can do is I can put this in a vacuum seal bag. Then I would put my spices at the bottom, and I would put my noodles and vegetables on the top, so that those spices being the salt, or the pepper rather, and the chicken powder, so that I'm not bringing that up to the top of the bag. But I'm going to go ahead and cook this now with hot water. And let me bring my water to a boil, and I'll be right back. All right, my water is coming to a boil. You can hear that, so I'm going to step away and get that for just a second. And then basically I'm going to add my boiling water up to that 2-inch because I'm making soup, so I want mostly broth. I'm going to put my cover on quickly, and then this really needs to sit for about 20 minutes to get those noodles fully rehydrated. I like to cover it with a towel just to kind of keep that heat in. So I'm going to let this sit, and then we will enjoy some soup. All right, this has been sitting for about 8 minutes now. And because these noodles aren't very big, it won't take that long, and I have not a lot of noodles, I have more broth. The jar is really hot. Sometimes when you do this and you add the hot water, your lid is going to look like it's sealed, and that's not considered canned, so don't use that. Mine's okay this time, but sometimes when you put this lid on, it will seem like it's sealed and you'll have to pry it off. But what I have now is soup with noodles in a jar that's almost too hot to hold here. And this looks delicious. I don't know if I can hold this or not. Let me grab something smaller here. So this looks like really good soup. I'm gonna see if I can pick this up, and you can see, you know, that I have all my noodles and my vegetables and my broth here, good to go. And let me just taste this. I can't hold the jar, it's too hot. And it is still really hot, but it's really tasty. I can taste the celery. I can taste the chicken flavor. Let's see if the noodles are done. The celery could use probably another minute or two, but the noodles are absolutely done. So this is a nice, easy way to use your instant noodles to make instant soup. Again, add the components you want. Tomato powder and peppers, or taco seasoning for a taco flavored soup. You could use some dehydrated beans, you know, like kidney beans. Probably going to take a lot longer to rehydrate, but this is really good. It's really simple. I would suggest making individual pouches of this and then sealing them so you have individual jars of soup. The other thing you could do, obviously, is take your packages, put them in a pan, add water, and heat it up that way. That would work perfectly well. Really, in the 8 or 9 minutes or so, I just kind of cleaned up things a little bit, and this cooked for me. You could certainly put your hot water in the morning, take it to work. It's really nice to have instant soup, bottom line. And you can just look at your pantry and see what you have. This works equally well for dehydrated rice. So I hope you learned something. I hope you got some ideas. If you did, please give me a thumbs up so I know you like these kinds of recipes. Be sure to subscribe to my channel by hitting the subscribe button in your lower right-hand corner of the video. In the meantime, happy dehydrating.